Assalamu alaikum class. Today we are going to talk about another important area that is related to pragmatics, and it is called as Phatic communication. As I have already told you that there are many functions that we perform with the help of language. So one of the important function of language is its phatic function. From the phatic function, we can call it as phatic communication. So why it is necessary to talk about phatic communication in pragmatics. Today's session is going to fulfill the areas that are actually needed in this class, right? So let me talk about phatic communication. Before going into detail about this phatic communication, I must actually wanna elaborate over here the background of this term phatic, who has actually originated that term and something like that, right? Other than this, all those candidates to whom I have assigned the topic with the name of phatic tokens, this topic is also going to help them in detail, and at the end you have to actually perform an activity after going through this lecture, right? So what is phatic communication? If we look at this word phatic, it is actually an adjective, right? If we look at the meaning, dictionary meaning of the term phatic, then it is denoting a speech used to express or create an atmosphere of shared feeling, goodwill, or sociability rather than to impart information, phatic communication, etc. So this is the general, or we can say that general background of this word phatic. Now, who has discovered this phatic communication or the phatic term? This phrase is actually coined by almost we can say that a century ago by the anthropologist with the name of Menlowski, right? He described it as a type of speech in which ties of unions are created by a mere exchange of words, or more pithily as speech communication used to establish social relationships. So you'll see that all those things, all those words, all those phrases, all those expressions or the statements that we actually use to build up the relationship, just to initiate the conversation, just to start a conversation, if we use such sort of phrases, then we are in the area of, we can say that, phatic communication, just to build up the speech communication, or just to establish the social relationship between, or we can say that, between the participants, right? The addresser and the addressee. Then what is phatic communication in detail? Now if we focus on it, phatic communication is denoting or relating to a language and is used to establish mood of sociability instead of conveying any sort of information, more commonly known as small talk. So if we have to elaborate this term, we can call it as small talk. Example, like greetings, conversation starters, or to say goodbye, hi, hello, good morning, how are you, or so the and in such sort of statements, right? So these phatic communications function is to keep the channels of communication open and available, right? uh, just focus on this thing, that whenever we are in a situation, whenever we have to go somewhere where we have to initiate something, whenever we initiate with the help of, these phatic communicative elements, or we can say that these small talks, right? So greetings are the best example of this. Other than this, in our, we can say that, culture, or in our concept, you'll see that usually we have the concept of salam, right? Greeting. So this all is actually what type of function of language? This is actually phatic function of the language, and we usually communicate with the help of this aspect, right? Then if we further talk about why phatic communication is needed, then it is actually a speech to promote human warmth. Like, this is a good, we can say that, definition as any of the phatic aspect of the language, for good or ill. We are social creatures, as we know that we are the social animals and cannot bear to be cut off too long from our fellows. So even if we are nothing really to say to them, then this is the area, this is the concept that actually helps us, right? Then phatic communication or small talk is an important social lubricant, in the words of we can say that Irving Goffman. So this statement is actually said by this man. The gestures which we sometimes call empty are perhaps in fact the fullest things of all. We don't actually give suitable meanings to these expressions, words, phrases, but still they have got these have got some particular sort of meanings, right? Apparently you'll see that this small talk has no specific purpose behind it, but still it communicates a lot, right, in the area of a successful sort of communication to take place. Then if we talk about the examples of phatic communication, then examples can be the greetings or conversation starters like good morning, good evening, how are you, hope you are doing well. Such sort of statements can be called as phatic communication examples, right? Then you'll see that back channeling linguistics, like the words we have, yeah, right, really, wow. So these can be also called as phatic communication examples, right? But these are called over here as back channeling linguistics, right? We usually use these terms just to feel, or we can say that participant or the listener much more, we can say that easier, that at least we are getting his or her point, right? Then the moment as we start the conversation, in the same way we usually end a conversation as well, we usually end our conversations with the help of some starters, ending conversation notes, or the phrases, or we can say that sentences like see you later, bye, have a good day, like this, right? Have a nice day. So these are the expressions. Again, these are also related to phatic communications. So here are some of the examples. Now you'll see that here I have got two cartoons with me, right? You'll see that they are actually chatting to one another. One bunny is saying that I worry that Facebook is killing meaningful communication. On the other hand, you'll see that the second cartoon is that is brownish in color. It says that, like, right? So you'll see that these are the expressions. This like over here is performing the role of phatic communication, because the second participant is actually supporting the first one with the help of, we can say that phatic communication element. So this is very necessary for a successful talk, right? Between the two participants. So why do we use phatic communication? Phatic language keeps the channel of communication open, allow individuals to bring more ideas and opinion to the topics. Then it also allows people to share feelings and establish communication that doesn't seek offer information of the intrinsic value. Phatic communications are very meaningful because they imply social recognition by sharing our thoughts and feelings with one another. Then when to use phatic language? Now this is a question. Phatic communication is often used for expressing politeness. Politeness we mean maintaining the social distance. In the next sessions we'll discuss about politeness. Then you might be aware of this term, right, in the clear way. And for friendship, shortening the we can say that social distance, and for creating friendships as well. When we are creating actually friendships, we are in the area where we are eliminating the social distance. So these are the areas where we can apply these terms, phatic, where we can use these phatic language, phatic elements. Then phatic communication does not extend an invitation to have a real conversation. So these are some of the, we can say that, uses of phatic language. Now if we review what we have read up till now, what we have discussed up till now about phatic communication, then it's a small talk. One of its only purpose is to increase social bonds, right? Bonds between the participant, right? Between the addresser and the addressee. It is neither particularly informative or deep. It has got no, we can say that, underlying meaning, but still we use them. Then we can think of our own examples of phatic communication as well. Now if we further talk about the phatic communication in emails, you'll see that just like verbal or non-verbal communication, emails keep the line of communication open. These lines are open and people are often seek a formal response to their request as long as electricity flows. Phatic communication certainly includes form of salutations and proper and polite greetings or politeness in general. They might help your co-workers or business partners to communicate better non-verbally. Our research shows that phatic communication in the workplace will break down barriers related to age, sex, social status, and power differentials. So these are the areas where actually phatic communication helps us. Then, what is the significance of phatic communication? Phatic communication serves as a social function, allowing people to share feelings and establish a mood of sociability as opposed to communicating information or ideas. In the workplace, having good phatic communication skills ease interactions and aids in managing interpersonal relationships. As a personal skill, phatic communication does everything previously mentioned, along with the ability to diffuse silence in a polite manner. Now, small talk and a big deal. Small talk is the oil that keeps the machinery of interpersonal relationships running smoothly. This is actually said by this man who has given this concept, Milowski, right? So, small talk creates a tie between a union with mere exchange of words. It allows people to communicate and exchange thoughts that serves to create a working relationship among people. Then over here there are two we can say that sections in which there is the use of phatic communication, and there are the statements that are without these phatic communication. So you can see that the phrases without phatic communication: how is it going, nice weather we are having, what are you doing, I need this done now. So this is without phatic communication. Now you will see the sentences with phrases with phatic communication. What's frustrating you today? Then what's holding you back? Are you doing anything fun after work? So these are the statements. You'll see that these are much more acceptable. These are much more, we can say that, friendly. uh, if you look at the without one, right, the statements that are without phatic communication. Then the main function of phatic communication: hello, my name is, for example. What is the, we can say that, main function of such sort of statements? To start a conversation, creating a sort of harmony between the participants, addresser and the addressee, expressing respect and comfort, building a relationship, and expressing politeness. So you'll see that these are the phrases actually that creates a sort of friendly sort of we can say that atmosphere, plus it expresses politeness on the part of the speaker or the addresser. So when to use phatic communication, we have earlier discussed this thing, but this slide is actually communicating something more. So during the various everyday genre of greetings and expressive intonations, all kind of wishes and farewells, while providing information about health, business, so forth, to create a good relationship with your co-workers, your colleagues, your friends, and the future employers or employees. So we can use phatic expressions or communications in this area. Then how you can develop phatic communication? We can develop phatic communication. There are four important ways with the help of which we can improve our small talk skill. And always keep in mind, you have to over communicate to communicate. This is the very beautiful statement given by someone, that you have to over communicate to communicate. The same concept that I usually repeat, that we always communicate more than what we said. In the later discussion, we will discuss this term in detail from the book that we are following with the name of we can say that Pragmatics by George Jules. So learn the basic non-verbal communication methods to engage the audience in the discussion. Start and end with the key points. Get comfortable speaking extremo personally, right? So these are the some of the, we can say that, four important ways with the help of we can improve our small talks. So you'll see that what to do avoid during phatic communication. So there are some areas that we have to focus while using the phatic communication. So you'll see that it actually helps us to avoid some of the things, like to narrow down the topics, offensive jokes. Not every next candidate is actually uh, of such a temperament that he or she can tolerate your offensive jokes, right? So this is not acceptable in this area. Then age, appearance related comments, right? As you know that I already have told you that whenever we talk to someone about something, we always talk to that person in a formal or informal way, on the basis of the relationship that we have with that person, right? So again, it's the matter of age. Then talk only about your passion or feeling, not close the conversation. So you'll see that these are the things with the help of which we can say that if we usually avoid all these things, we can have better communication. So here is again the review of the Phatic communication. So you'll see that Phatic communication is the best source of conversation between co-workers. That can be colleagues, that can be your any of classmate or someone like that. Then Phatic communication is a workplace break down barriers related of to age, sex, social status, and power differentials. Starting and ending with that key point improves Phatic communication. Phatic communication plays a huge role in starting a conversation and developing a good sort of relationship among the uh, speak we can say that between the speaker and the listeners, or the addresser or the addressee, or between the participants. So students, over here you'll see that this was something about Phatic communication. Now you people have to actually keeping in view this lecture, you people have to uh, write down an activity with you. I am going to attach that activity in your Google Classroom. You can take it from there. Keeping in mind this lecture, you have to write the activity in your own words, uh, and the copying and the plagiarism in this area is not acceptable, right? So try to write your own personal opinions related to your this topic, right? So that much is enough for today. Okay, thank you so much.